Okay, welcome back to the 427th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Okay, generally in the second part of the workshop, we have questions. Is that how you'd like to continue with this, Mr. Kesh?
This is how we've done for 9 years. You think that'll change today?
Well, there's always a chance. I have to allow for that. Well, sometimes you do continue to, with the teaching and so on. So,
time it comes if there is a need to add to the knowledge. There is a next few weeks, we don't know yet when, we'll have a presentation by one of the knowledge seekers. They're putting a video for teaching or for sharing knowledge of what they've done. And I asked them for completing it. We already have this video with us for some weeks, but it's time for maybe to be shared. We stopped showing new technologies or new trials and new understanding by knowledge seekers through what we had, the hooliganism of some of the what we call other people to attacking them. We're bringing these back again slowly, but at the same time, we try to enhance the knowledge and understanding. What we call the Linz Exhibition Center is reaching a new structure, a new number of what we call presentations and people coming to see. And maybe now that you understand more, when you go to what we call the exhibition, you understand how the technology is set up to do that process of the elevation of the man, and how it's getting together to complete it. I hope you enjoy it. Some people who've been there, we have a very good presenter there, Mario, and we have the support of Klaus when things are there to be done with presentation, that you gain more knowledge and understanding and more to add. Now you looked at the systems, at what it does in a physical dimension. When you go into the exhibition center, look at what it does in the elevation of my soul, my understanding of the creation. That's what the soul is. The true creation, not by feeding and eating vitamins and the rest. Are there any questions?
Well, first of all, I'll remind the attendees they can raise their virtual hands so that they can, so we can open the microphone so you can speak. And I see there is a hand up here. But first, since you mentioned Klaus, Mr. Kesh, there's a question from Malcolm in the chat here. I know he's had this for some time now. So he says, first he says, wow, what a teaching, Mr. Kesh. Could you please expand on the uses of the plasma mirrors developed by the Austrian team, and if they can be shared with loved ones? Thanks, Malcolm.
We put these mirrors out, very limited number. They're very hard to make. They're not easy things. And there was a reason for it. When it was done, we allowed it to go out. It has a reason we never explained, and there are reasons why we put it out for people the way it was explained originally by when it was introduced by Klaus. You got to understand there are different levels of knowledge within all the structures of the Keshe Foundation teaching and equipment and the systems. And these mirrors have, now that we have more knowledge, have a different use or can be used in a different way by the knowledge seekers. We keep a lot of this away from public because it's more or less, it's a fire. You don't want us to show you how you can burn yourself with it, because if you don't know how to handle the fire. The mirrors have a specific use, and I think we stopped selling them because they're too hard to make. and keep the quality as we liked. Is Klaus in the background? He can join you and explain what was done originally for in Austria, and then I might add some more knowledge to it. Do we see Dr. Klaus in the background?
I don't see him right now,
He's
unless
somewhere
he's
in the
behind
factory.
someone else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, he could be in the factory. He's or somewhere in the what do you call it, in the operation. This system, due to their blackness, have a inherent characteristics of absorbing fields, and then how these fields will reflect back. You go back to the first paper we published, creation of black holes. They are like black holes, but it has a very interesting characteristics which it needs to be understood in a way. When you look at these, what we call mirrors, they're very thin discs, and they have a nano layer on them. They're totally covered. You receive energies from both directions, and what happens to this energy when it crosses the copper? What happens collectively within this structure? And what is the properties of those lights which are not absorbed? Due to the curvature of it, more or less, it creates on its own. You absorb the light from this side, is not the same as this side. When you look at the disk, two of them, then because they are made of the same, the reflection of the field is one to the other. It's you who's in the middle. It goes back to a lot of teachings. It needs a lot of understanding, and then has other application implication in the work of the Keshe Foundation. What fields are reflected at this point, and what fields are absorbed at this point and reflected back at this point, or the same in any position. As we know, black holes are not what Stephen Hawking said, that they absorb everything. Now we know they're a source of energy, but what sources do they release? This is the key to the operational understanding of this. Any other question?
Reminds me of the original lasers that had two mirrors that allowed the light to bounce between the two mirrors and interact with a ruby crystal in the middle. And that's how the laser light was created for the first lasers. So could two of these plates be put in parallel and a reactor of some sort in between as a focusing point for the plates?
You can do a lot of things with it. You can do a lot of things with this. But this is just what you call it, a small understanding of it. People will try. We charge, I think, about €1,000, something like that for this.
Yes, they're quite. I remember it was like 40 layers of.
It's a very, very
nano coatings.
Yeah, it's a very.
Took a month or more to make, I think.
We stopped. We had 2 or 3 left because it's so cumbersome. We stopped producing them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand the principle, it has different application.
Sure looks like a flying saucer in your diagram there. Suspiciously like a saucer.
Ask yourself why the saucers look gray, silverish gray to the eye of the man. When at the point of death, you look in the eye of the man, it's got a silverish, bluish color. For an instance or for some time. Why does man see spaceships in a silver color most of the time? That should give you a lot of ideas and understanding. I see we have a stranger amongst us today. Somebody we haven't seen for a long time. And he's sitting there very quietly. Maybe he's asleep. He can teach you a lot about these things. Any other question?
Okay, we have 4 hands up here to address, as well as some questions in the Q&A. Jacko, if you would like to go first, and then Thomas after that.
Sorry, Rick, that was not my intention.
Okay, gotcha. Thomas, go ahead there now.
Thank you, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Cash. How are you?
Not too bad, you sound good.
Mr. Cash, I have sort of come across over the last few days that our beloved Khazarian mafia sort of let us know that their goal was actually, as they stated already years ago, is the reduction of the world population. Now, it appears, since they didn't have their success they wanted with the virus, they are now joining or trying to apply another thing, which is to create hunger and people dying from hunger. And the last they sort of decided in this direction over the last few days is that, for instance, in America, the railway, which has sort of 2 separate transportation, one for high value good and one for lower value goods, they sort of told the railways not to deliver low value goods, which are, for instance, the feeding crops for cattle, which means that if the cattle doesn't get the food within a certain number of days, they have to be slaughtered, which will create hunger. Now, is there any possibility that the Keshe technique and can sort of intervene through I don't know what in this situation? Because the first people who will suffer from that is, for instance, like North Africa and other countries, which is absolutely incredible.
You got to understand, to be able to respond to positions like this rapidly, it meant to build structures that can support such a massive change. And this is why we do the teaching publicly, that you can do it yourself to help yourself. And there's not much can be done by organizations like us when we don't have the fundamental structure in the background with it. And to build these kind of structures takes a long time, 10 years, 20 years. And in that process, by introducing new technologies, new systems, things can be done. But at this moment, it's what the farmer does or what a man does to help himself with the knowledge we've given. It's like the cup of life. You help yourself with the corona. What is the next step that you can feed your soul, that you cannot feel hunger or you can understand? You can feed the soul of the cup, or the sheep, or the plants. We can come up with anything, any group trying to do things, but essentially, by understanding the interaction of field of the universe with a man should become self-sufficient in feeding itself or being able to transfer energies to feed the others. If you stand in front of the cow, you put wheat in front of it. What about if you could understand the strength of his soul, that you can feed his soul, that he feeds his body, you don't need to put a hand out with the wheat. What about if we can teach to that level, that we create an environment that matches his need? We are developing and testing these systems already. It's, as I've discussed it with both 2 or 3 of the knowledge seekers in research, where essentially you don't need to feed the citizens of a city. You create all the fields that what they want to absorb, they absorb from it. Then what do you develop, or how do you develop technologies that it feels that everybody stays out of hunger, well fed, not aggressive, and the rest of it? The knowledge, the technology is there. It's just that we don't have, the whole structure of the Keshe Foundation is as an infancy. Till we build up the factories, we build up the structures that can produce mass production. Any other question?
Okay, we have Andreas next. Would you like to go ahead, Andreas?
Yes, hello, Rick. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much for the teaching today. We have a question from the German-speaking community. It's about the flight enhancement units.
Yeah.
And the question is it only possible to travel in these units for people who have understood and their soul is already elevated? Or how is it for the different understandings of the people, what they experience there? Thank you.
This is the precondition set. We say from London to New York. The souls which want to go to New York will be ready to go with it. That's as simple as that. As simple as that, no more.
Thank you.
We preset the condition by what you call understanding of the souls. Any other question?
Okay, we've got Salamia next, and we'll get a couple of questions from the Q&A.
Would you like to change the pictures, Rick, in the center?
Thank you very much, Rick. Hello, Mr. Keshe, and thank you for your opportunity to inform my community about your answer concerning decontamination. And now I would like to ask you another question related to our units of flying. What is Keshe Foundation strategy to change the status quo, actual status quo, and create a new world order based on peace, utilizing this space technology, especially our fly unit? I know that defense is related with space technology in our actual paradigm, and how you are planning, how it's your vision about the future, how we can create peace and get rid of this crime against peace. Thank you very much.
We don't have a strategy. We started a way of living. We started a way of life. And we work to that target. That by teaching more people becoming part of it, then we achieve to understand more of what we need. Obama signed the Keshe World Peace Treaty to his name, but he never signed it to his nation. Putin, Armin is here in the background, sent it to Duma, but we were in training and left there. I don't want to make a decision about the peace, but that the parliament does, that the nation decides, do they want a peaceful time? It's spreading the knowledge, it's spreading the technology, that it comes to a point that everybody has everything what they need and it cannot be controlled by the others. Then where does the peace goes and where it comes peace? Because you can do what you like. We're getting there. It took 20 years to build it up. And then once, now we go through the development and delivery of the enhancement units and the rest, we'll see the change. Because the enhancement units are given to the countries. They have to make it fly. They have to understand it. We teach, and they come up with their own version of how they see it, according to their scientific data. African nation might reach it far faster than American scientists. Our job is not there to enforce peace. We are there to teach how the man to become peaceful with himself and his community. It's two big differences. When you enforce it, they find another way. When they do it, they find another way. We have seen it now very clearly within your borders with Ukraine, what has happened in Ukraine and how war leaders go into any strength and any what they call position to lie, to cheat, to create dimension for them to be war leaders or who's more powerful. And when they're exposed, everything wrong is with the other side and we hide behind it. We don't let it come out. We've seen it clearly in the past 10 days with the situation in Ukraine and the fake images which has come up. We saw the same fake situations in train stations, on the high streets, all made up in our cities 3-4 years ago, if you remember. Suddenly out of nowhere, there was a lot of shooting, a lot of somebody killed, a lot of people attacked, but there was nothing, the actors get up and go. Now we saw this in a bigger scale in what we call Ukraine, and that was just, we're seeing this now, we go to help, but it didn't work. If you remember, the propaganda of the West was that the Russians have planned this to do, but in fact was their own plan. That's what we're going to do. And when we can't get it, we fake it, and then we make an excuse to do something with it. And this is where forcing to peace does not work. It has to become the nature of the man. and how the man sees, how the man takes his own position. And then we've seen it. We established an organization called United Nations. Now that they can show main members of this controlling committee of the 5 have lied and cheated to get the others, they don't even convene the session to be shown that they lied. Because they themselves used this before in past years. And now it opens up a lot of other things. I was reading an article how they have precisely pinpointed what was supposed to happen in 19th or something has happened in the 1st of April at what minute and what time by the scientists who can analyze the light and the vision and the control and the position. And we cannot be cheated anymore. So once you know you cannot be cheated, you don't create conditions of war to cheat others with it. And if you look, religions by the inherent work have launched towards. If you remember, we showed the picture of the Pope going to the Russian embassy, and we've seen the same man in Kiev for the same process. Now, thinking they can win, let's push more wars. The principle is what I call leaders on this planet to stop cheating and to understand and create and promote peace. Not by talk, not by not doing it. We've seen a lot of things coming up. It's interesting. I received so many informations from knowledge seekers around the world without them knowing, because they're interested in one part, other one is another part. But as we receive a lot of information and we put it together, we see a pattern, a feature, what is and how the world leaders work and they plan to do things. How do we choose our new presidents and parliamentarians? That in their work, peace is there. It's not just to get them to the office and then change it. This is part of what we need to do to understand, and this is what I say, do we need this kind of conditions? Do we need to push to attain these positions to show the power or to safeguard the others? Peace has to become inherited within the soul of the man, within the mentality of the man. Not be peaceful for a while and then go back to it when it suits. Now we see very, very clearly this, what we see in Ukraine. If this wouldn't happen, we would have had these situations right across Balkans, Central Asia, and Far East. Was it the right action in conjunction with the religious leaders' understanding of their work? Or is it another commotion in the structure? Peace has to become way of life, not the talk of life. And this is a problem. We teach you enough, can create enough positions, but how can you push it? I was talking yesterday to the airlines to go to Kiev on Monday. There is no airline creating flights. There is nowhere you can take what they call private event flights to go into what they call a war zone. And we can push to a limit, but we have to teach to create no limit. And that's the difference with the teaching and what we see in the present world operation. what you see with the present situation in what we see Ukraine, which is a concern especially for Romanians, like human bodies sits around Balkans, is several things have mixed up together, and those mixing up has created new conditions. We see the same thing with the Iranian negotiation. We went in with the understanding that we want what we want, and once the Iranian officials and the team, after what happened, realized that now they have a thing to prove that they were innocent, they changed their demands and they brought the whole thing into a halt, where you had the condition of negotiation, we agreed everything. They made the situation, we safeguarded ourselves, we know what it is, and you don't turn it back into another phase of another demand. It's the same with the Americans. It's our world leaders who jump from one to another point when they get what they want or what they think they can get what they want. Releasing the report to the IEA and to the Iranian officials and to the Americans, they all knew how they were cheated and how they were lied, and now we want back what is not there. And one of what has been in it, a new addition. They want the Revolutionary Guard assets to be released because they were innocent in the whole operation. It was all lies. And the Americans are not playing to it, and it's brought everything to a halt. We went to, but it was a position of the strength. Now it's become another position of bargaining. Now we have to find another solution for the peace talks in Vienna, because Iran moved the goalpost and the Americans with it. Everything was agreed, was done, and in understanding how lies have been used, now the goalpost has been moved because we were innocent. Now we want more. We want more things to be done, and more or less will not fit into what, or we have to find a way around it. Would we get the Iranian officials to move for a time being with the sanctions on the Revolutionary Guard group, which is the main side of the financing of Iran, or we stick with it for another 10 years because they will not go and they will not make a change. Put this aside and do a new one. This is what the problem is now, which I thought is Iranian leadership should have moved on and let this go till we come to it. When there is more peace and understanding, we take it up in the future. We have the same thing in Ukraine. There's a number of nuclear and biological labs built around the globe which can affect China and Russia directly. And they're now stopping it. They want to stop the play. And they know in the, corridors of United Nations, the British being at the moment in charge, not allowing a hearing to be heard, which is unheard of, is another way of playing power games. We want to create war. They thought they'll get it and get that, what we call the kangaroo meetings of the Universal, what they call United Nations Council, and they got it through because they lied. Now they caught themselves. How can they convene a meeting in United Nations where they are the instigators? Of course, Britain will not allow United Nations Security Council to sit because they had it at the moment, because the hand opens up. They've been inciting everything in Ukraine. Don't forget, it's the same situation as Libya. If you get into Russia Church and Russia Central Bank, it's one of the richest in the world. Any gains will go to get in there. We saw what they did in Libya, we see what there was there, but it doesn't work because now they've got the most powerful nation sitting behind it. Russia is not Libya. And The only thing is we have to teach our leaders to be peaceful, to understand when you put a child in a school, you teach him how to be, mentality of peacefulness. When he grows up and he becomes a president, he carries on with the same. This is what we saw now in the American position. It's very clear, and more is coming out. We're receiving so much information, even from internal security, is that Biden family have been in it up to their arms building biological labs around the world. Has made a lot of money for them. And this changes the whole view in respect to the American operation. We saw Trump going into that way. Biden family is deeply involved in biochemical laboratories around the world. They make money out of it. How can a father says, I don't know what my son is doing? And then the same father cried for the son he lost. Why is he allowing the sons of others to be taken life of? This is what we have to teach our leaders, not become the peacemakers and to be the new world order for peace by talk, but by action too. We have to change the mentality of the mankind from this warring position. Then we don't need enhancement of it. In the future, what we call agricultural part of the Keshe Foundation, we will show how we go back changing the essence of the creation, what was short in the physical dimension of the soul of the man, not only feeding it through the systems, but ingrain it within the genes of the man. Will introduce, in a way it has been done, but you're not aware of it, to enhance the soul of the man by the food the man eats. We have already started this in the production of the Keshe Foundation agricultural system, which are coming in to be tested. You feed the grain to enhance your physicality, but the structure of the system is set to enhance your soul, to make you a peaceful man, to give to the soul that the soul does not allow you to take more grain. It's the reactors are on the, what do you call it, on the bench, getting ready to be built. This year we might be able to get in the market, but next year most probably we will. Changing it is the important at the source, and where the man gets his food. We, with the new agricultural technologies which we develop, is gradually feeding the man with not only body enrichment, but with the soul enrichment as well. You have the systems. We taught you how to make systems, but you're so physical that you didn't see, they don't see. The new systems allows life to coexist, not to destroy one, to get the other one to be better for us. It's the end of herbicides, and it's the end of pesticides. We destroy everything. This is one of the problems a lot of agriculture people with the Keshe Foundation see, because they're used to saying, oh, you got pesticide or you got herbs that they can damage the growth, because we always looked at they take the energy from the earth. Now the new technology takes the energy from the space. You see, even your material, your products increases with the more herbs. And sometimes the pests are actually the supporter of the cycle if you get the cycle right. And if it doesn't suit the cycle, they move somewhere else. We have to not by producing enhancement units, but by creating the condition and materials and food that enhances the soul of the man, we can reach. And it takes time. We saw it in a very simple way, as you see on the video, by the agriculture crops in Australia with Jim and Lisa. They said, when, if you remember back some years ago, when they showed the lettuce production in Australia, people come asking for the product because they feel good with it, because it's not just the deliciousness of it, but it elevates the soul as well. So it brings peace to them. They come to get that peace. And this is what many knowledge seekers never understood. Why your harvest is not doubled. And oh, we use it, it doesn't work, and the other one use it. What have you missed? Have you just went in there to physically increase, or did you went there to satisfy the need of the plant that it can give you more? And allows with it to create new knowledge. It takes time. And we need, from now on, with what we have, with the presence of Mitra and a condition of existence of their life through it, to create new children of man. That in the next generation, they shall not kill. In the next generation, they shall not even think of war. We have created animals, and we have allowed them to become our leaders. Then you can see where we gone as a race wrong, and that's how it will be. It changes. Any other question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirsch. God bless you.
Okay, thank you, Salmia. Let's try a couple of questions from the Q&A, and then we have Andreas with the hand up. From Jackie in the Q&A, is there a GANS application that will enhance the thyroid gland and bring balance and restore function? Thank you.
Yes, we have successfully seen the effect of it. It's a specific way you got to be done, and it actually changes the emotion and the strength of the body as well. Yes, there is. We developed this one 2007, 2006. You don't need chemicals if you understand the work of it, what it is, what it does, why its position, where its position.
And that's normally a treatment. I have a friend that just had her pituitary gland removed because it had a tumor. And so she has to use synthetic hormones and so on as replacement. Is there a therapy that would be similar to the thyroid gland for that instance as well?
Well, yes, there is a solution to it. There is a way we've seen it. It's been tested. Thyroid glands are, where are they positioned? Put it on the screen if you can bring it up from your friend Wikipedia. And then you have parathyroid gland, which is as small as a dot. Sometimes finding it is more difficult than a needle in a haystack in the body of the man. Rick is busy in the background trying to find thyroid.
I'm trying to find my screen right now for so I can get that up. There we go. Okay, just a second here.
Forget about all the literature which is written about this. Just look at the position. Now that you have an understanding of the fields and the energies within the body of the man, it's sitting around the voice box. Voice is a part of the emotion of the man. Sits between more or less equal distance, the position of this gland and the position of the soul and the position of the heart even dictates the behavior of the person. When it's a gland, it's a central energy, so it has a field strength of control. How does the communication of the fields of the soul of the man and the body of the man controlled in interacting with the soul of the physicality and the physicality of the man? It sits right under what we call the highway. It controls your sleep. If in some cases when they remove thyroid gland, you have to take tablets to awake. It controls what is asleep, controls the emotion, controls the freedom of the soul. This gland is not just a gland, it's a control system between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man and dimension of the flow. If you look at it, if I can show it to you in a different way, I have to choose a color you can see. You have to see where the soul of the man sits, where the heart of the man sits. Look at the two main arteries which pass both sides. Look at where the energy comes to go through. Where you take two types of energy, one to the other. It sits in a position in the background of it, if you can see it, the neural system, which is a control of the soul in the back. Then when you want to deal with it, you have to understand you need to deal with this chap first. Is this who decides what energies of the blood which come into the brain, the energies of the food which are passed on to the body, taken and controlled. And then you have to understand how deviation in field flow of the energy within the arteries on the side of the body of the man controls it. It's more or less is the most important gland between the soul of the man or the brain of the man and the physical part of the body of the man. And it's not just what goes, what we call in it. It is so powerful that we have no choice but to look at what fields it creates in this region. And we need to understand this because we only look at the physical side. We don't look at the energy position of this. Don't forget, we always said from the teaching, Glands are part of the brain, which have been put in positions to do the job because there is too much information coming and going. They do the local job. It's too much goes in breathing, eating, emotions, everything which goes from the physical life into the dimension of the soul of the man and emotion. We've seen this 100%, more or less 100%. Women who are raped and are not allowed to speak if they put a hand on their mouth, or the attack has been in a position of what we call violence, that they could not speak. Majority of them end up with a cancer in this third gland. %99% of them. If you see a thyroid gland, especially where you cannot speak a word, when you get the emotion of the speech cannot be explained to the dimension of physicality, where the soul is aware of it. You have sometimes due to damages, physical damages, but essentially, thyroid gland is a condition of the speech, is what we call the communication word of the man to hear himself. And when you get an interruption, you get cancers of it and other deviation and problems. And if you can sort it out, they go back. We have had a case of girl of 22, 23, raped in the campus overnight walking. And within 2 years, she ended up with a cancer, thyroid cancer, and removal of it and the rest of it. And it took only a few weeks to understanding this, to elevate and bring back and allow to live a normal life. You have to understand where the glands are. Why do you take glands and you have to take them out? Glands should not be taken out, should be understood, the work of, and then allowed. Any other question?
Thank you for that. I think, Andreas, did you take your hand down? Perhaps you didn't want to speak, I guess.
Sorry, it was a mistake. Sorry.
Okay. Very good. Let's see here.
Do you want to change your screen?
Okay. Okay, we have a series of questions from Cristiano here in the Q&A.
One question.
I think it's a question by Alexandra from Brazil. First question, the Magrev in the vertical enhancement unit has been placed on the floor. Why was the Magrev placed on the floor? Is there any specific relation to the energy fields of the feet of the people who will enter the unit?
No. That Magrev system has a lot of functions. That is not just there for one thing. It has a lot of multiple applications and functions. It's part of understanding. It's not on its own. It's part of a system. It's this is the problem with the knowledge. They just see something. It's not. This is part of an integrated system. Has many functions. Any other question?
Okay, the second question, will we experience living longer than normal in this same physical body? How to keep the cage from rotting?
Find out how you can feed the soul. Then you don't need the cage to feed itself.
Okay. Next question.
Any other question from outside? I think 2 is enough. Otherwise, this will go forever. I've seen this coming up.
Okay.
Do you have any other question?
See here, I think we had one. There's a question in the chat from Lothar. I think it's more of a medical question. Well, I'll put it out there. I don't know if you want to take on that question, Mr. Kesh, but they say, my doctor says that I have one heart disease named cardiomyopathy because of psychological stress. And after many medical controls, he says that my heart is on a size limit. Yet my pain and fear are about the last 20 years world situation. What kind of plasma water could be helpful and how to apply, or
We
patches?
don't go in that
drinking?
territory. We
Okay.
don't go in the medical territory under no circumstances.
Okay.
Shall we call it a day? If you have no more questions, our knowledge seekers are becoming better and better.
There's other questions about the plasma mirrors and some questions about GANs, but if you feel like
What is the
we're
question about the gases?
done. Lico asks, can you add GANs particles themselves to an AOH and a KOH nanocoating? Does it have to be only the GANs water? And what happens when you add GANs particles themselves to an NaOH and KOH nanocoating?
Try it. It gives a new dimension. It doesn't change much, but what it does, it allows a spectrum of nanolayers to be made. You change the field energy inside. Why we change N to K? Because it's a different field effect. So when you add the copper into it, you create a different isotope energy of the copper. When you change gas of Zn to it or CO2 with it, you create new gas, new, what do you call it, nanomaterials, space gap energy. I think knowledge seekers have a full understanding of this by now, but just to recap, when you nanocoat and you create the layers, this layer, space gap, is partially dictated by the amount, the energy you created with NaOH. If you change the composition of the energy of NaOH by adding another gas to it, or composition of gases, now the what we call the space gap changes to a newer space gap. It's the same element, but you brought different energy into play. It's the same, but different dimension of the energy of the nanomaterial will manifest itself. And when you go to make gases, the space gap of the energy inflow is different than the space gap energy of the original one. If you understand this, this is one of the reasons we tell you cannot make lead gases or aluminum gases affecting the body of the man. Any other question?
We have a comment, questions rather from Doug. Is there any comment from Mr. Kesh on the possibility of KF technology involvement in Ukraine to bring peace?
We have already offered the technology if biochemical or nuclear material used in what you call Ukraine to IAEA. Sorry, I lost my microphone. In a communication to IAEA earlier, about a month ago, we offered this to IAEA directly to Mr. Grossi. They're aware of it. And what do you call it? The materials have been moved to Austria to support the initial strike if it happens. Email dated 4th of March at 11:38 to IAEA. Very clear, if the situation in Ukraine nuclear power station goes to critical or leakage, we are ready to assist the IAEA to hold and absorb radiation within the parameters of the site. And we have given them the reports for it. We have factory in Austria and can back up immediately with the materials needed. We have the sufficient material to control the first initial leakage. And this goes on the same to submitting documents and other bits we done with TEPCO and cleaning of the materials for a couple of governments, which is confidential reports that they have it, and plus other materials. The situation with Ukraine is very clear. We hope it will not go to that position, but we have enough materials to control and then support. We communicate directly with the these officers and with the leaders, and they know what is available where, and when it comes to it, it's there to be done. We are in a position, we are trying to sort out a position with directly doing some things with the Ukrainian leadership, but the more we go into it, even by hourly, we find out that the guy is much more deeply involved in corruption and all these, what I call dusty things, than what it looks on the surface. It's become a cry of wolf, more or less, what we see. But we are there if anything goes wrong. We announced yesterday in the Russian channel that we might need people to be in Ukraine, or we're trying to get into Ukraine to create a condition. We're still working on it. That Keshe Foundation Technologies is present as part of the peace process. But we'll see. The people who've been in touch with us, we work through you if the position is very clear within the next 14 days. Any other question?
Dan has a question. If I travel to the planet Zeus, where will my physical body be while my soul travels?
Inside your soul. Where does your body goes when your suit is in the restaurant? The suit doesn't go on its own. The body is inside it. Have you ever sent your body for a what do you call it, for a food to a restaurant, or you send your suits without the body? It's the same.
So do the units carry souls or physicalities, that is, manifestations of the soul of physicality?
Depending on their setting, both. In a vertical teleportation system, we carry the soul. Now the physicality is too difficult. And in the deeper space, it's easier to go for the soul. Question.
Okay, we have Marinez. Question here. Go ahead, Marinez.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Hello, Mr. Cash. Thank you very much. I have a question about the life for the phenomenon of in the air, like people who go the other world and come back physically, medically, and they, if I can, I ask. So they talk about the wonderful colors that there is no such thing on Earth. They can never make it. And sceneries, wonderful sceneries. And then they go around and they meet people all in telepathic communication. The question is it creation of their consciousness, these colors and these things? And
The question is what? Can you repeat?
is it the creation of their own consciousness that creates these colors and movements and toppings and going around? Or is it that dimension when they are taken in, has another kind of plasmatic creation or composition than our Earth?
I'm looking for something to share with you. You have to bear with me, then I explain this. I have to get to it. If I can find it, take a screenshot of it and come back to you. We know the interaction of fields create what we call new dimensions and new position and in the strength. We what do you call it? We produce these interactions. When they call it near-death experience, for some people who, due to other conditions of the blood, they what we call have changed the strength of the field. It's like when you go to the dreams or when you go to sleep and the field strength changes. And that change of field strength allows the soul of the man to go beyond the boundary of the body of the man. And in that process, we dream, we connect to other things. But in general, speaking about interaction and seeing other colors, we know if you are in a position of consciousness or the blood flow reduction, or at a point of no blood flow reduction, but still magnetic fields of the brain are working. You can go to what we call a condition where maybe when the heart stops, the magnetic field of the brain doesn't stop immediately, because it's still, even there, it still holds what we call what we call field strength. So you could be called physically dead, but in fact, the soul is still contained by the fields of the body. And this containment holds on. So now you're in a state of half what we call dream and half asleep. Soul still has confinement with the strength of the field of the blood, which is within the skull of the man. So in a way, if I revive you in that position, you're not asleep. Your blood circulation comes back and holds strength, but your emotion and the part of the brain which keeps the emotion is still working, still registering, till the point where the soul of the man departs the physicality. Man records everything, fields interactions, every other interactions, memories, images. Now you don't have a restriction that you had before when you were awake or when you were asleep. And this allows you to what they call, we dream of something or we had a dream. You're still alive till the point when the strength field of the blood drops below the strength field of containment of the energies of the soul. You're still active. You still are dreaming, you're still there, but now at different field strength. You're still communicating, connected to the outside world. So in that process of the transition, you see different strengths of the soul interacting still with the body of the man's fields within the brain. So the vision is still part of it. So you have a different field strength interacting with the same brain, but now in a different strength of the soul and different magnetic fields of the blood. So you see new colors because now it's purely magnetic field. There is no motion of the blood. And you observe new colors. You come to see new interaction of the plasmatic colors, not matter state colors. It's very much, we've seen this one in China when we produced the first cup for sterilizing. They saw new colors we never knew before in paintings, in what you can bring out, because now it's both the matter state and the Gans state interacting with each other in the magnetic field level. So you create new colors, new dimensions. But as the brain is active and it's what we call the soul is still active, and the only magnetic field of the blood are holding on to the containment, then you see two plasmatic fields interacting and you see new colors, which we haven't seen. But in the space technology, you're seeing is the Ganses have colors you don't usually see in a normal life condition. When we produce what we call the sterilizing cups we shown before, we created this in China, and they could see new colors. And the cup has a pinkish color that we never seen before. And what we call this opens a lot of things. And in book where we show the gases for the first time, we explain this, that you see colors which are not matter state colors. So yes, they see new colors they've never seen before, because now is the plasma of the soul interacting with the pure plasma of the blood in a way, and the brain, which is what is left. They see new colors without a shadow of a doubt. But if I jump in and pump your blood circulation, if it's not solidified in your blood, in your what they call blood vessels, then I get going and I create a new magnetic field containment. You come back to life, but your memory, your interaction is real because you went through it. You went from the physical containment to plasmatic containment alone, without the circulation of the blood to carry the information in motion. So you are frozen picture in a way, if you look at it, in a position where the fields of the blood interacts with the fields of the what we call the brain, or not the soul, and the memories of the brain is still working and it holds on to the memories and understanding. Maybe you see an uncle or a mother you're waiting for to see 100 years or 50 years, and she's there because now they feel the strength is different. This we understand fully. And if you look at some of the cups we sell, you see odd colors in these cups. They're not normal colors. When you look at it deep, it's the same way. You have a plasma of a gas which is within the pot, within the clay, and interacts with the matter state of the clay, so it creates new colors. Just look at just go on the Keshe Foundation website on the sales and into the cups and see the colors you see there. It's very normal. Now we understand the principle, the reason behind it, and how it takes shape. So people who say they've been to that, you haven't been, because if your soul has left the body, it's very, very, especially if the physicality has failed to create, to keep what we call the ruh, the what we call the spirit has collapsed, then the soul is released. And you see people spend 10, 20 minutes reviving somebody and they come back, because with that push of the heart, pushing and pumping, you create that cage, you create that magnetic field which can literally stop the soul to be loose, to leak out, and to what I call take the flight of fancy, because there is nothing to hold it. You cannot hold it anymore because the magnetic field is not there.
Thanks a lot. And most of them have a consciousness that at the same time can see what the neighbor in the second floor does, what his father in the village does. They can think of something and they see that.
Because you don't have that boundary anymore as such. You understand? Your soul travels deeper, further, because the limitation which was put by the blood, our prison of our soul is our blood flow. And if once mankind understands this, you can do a lot. And this is part of the what I call the enhancement units, not to interfere with the blood flow, but work within the structure of the soul of the man and the energies which are over the strength of the what we call blood. And if you can do that, you can create all sorts of conditions. Also, I can take you to a dreamland that you can see your grandfather and a grandmother have a food with them and come back and say, I've been there, they're there. In fact, it's not the dream, is we change the dimension of the strength of the soul, but in the strength of the grandmother or grandfather. And you connect to and you enhance it. These are become reality as we understand more and more. Because we will create machines for it. People will endeavor to do it. And we have all these magicians say, you know, I can connect you to your father and to the mother, and oh, they're talking to me. But in reality, if you understand the knowledge, if you give it the destination, we'll land in that destination.
Oh, thank you. The last question is, most of them, I think this can be partly physical condition, but most of them see their whole life like a video going through them. And they are active of that video from year 1, 2, 3. And at the same time, they are able to see the result of what they have done to somebody in later hours, like they have kicked somebody and they feel what they have done to that person hours later when he is in pain.
That's the connection of the fields. Nothing you can do about it. It's just the same process.
Exactly. I think
There's this process. It's nothing we can do, because now you see the whole thing. It goes back to the point, if you remember, I said, if we find people who've been in Jerusalem at the time of Christ, if you put them in a position you talk about, they tell us exactly how did Christ carry the cross and how he behaved on the cross, because they're there. And I'm sure in the future, not very far, and many of the technologies developed will bring that. We'll go into the understanding. You know, now you need the spies to tell you what happened, whose computer was stolen, what the information was on it we're going to release. You will go into the dimension of the soul of the man, the RNA of the soul, and we'll hear what presidents plan and to create what war and how, and what was the outcome of it. We'll be very, as I said, now you understand more about the technology, you understand how realistic it is to create that connection. Would we come to the point when we put the world leaders who claim like we had nothing to do, we never created the biological labs into the machine and see the truth, their souls and souls cannot lie, through the RNA of the soul. And then you understand a lot of things will change with this technology. A lot of things will change.
And most of them, when they come back, they change their lives. They go to the serving of people. They watch their actions, their thoughts very carefully, and they change to the ethics you're telling us, ethos of be careful not to harm, and just do the serving and unconditional love. And they brought that results to change their life after that.
Sometimes we learn from it. Sometimes we carry on with it. It's the condition of life we carry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Trying to find a picture for you to show you new colors when it comes. But if when Rick goes on the Keshe Foundation website on the shop with a cup of what do you call it, pressure, and a cup of sweet cup, you see the colors you see are not normal colors in the cups. They are the interaction of the fields of the GANs with the matter state. but in the state of the body of the man in that position is not a matter state, it is a field of the gans of the plasma of the blood. So colors are different, interactions are different. And read the book, it's already been explained on this, the colors we see. You see these cups, the colors are not normal colors. And each one is different. We cannot replicate cups' colors. Impossibilities. That's what I said to our Chinese team. In the cups, you have dots here or different colors. They want to create homogeneous cups. I said it's impossible. Because you cannot do this, because the fields interact and they change. There is no way we can give you matching 6 cups in the Keshe Foundation. Everyone has slightly different color, different shade, and how the material has been, used and positioned in it. We can try, but it's impossibilities. In fact, now I'm going to show you this picture. You will see very, very clearly. This picture is taken of a cup which is specially made for a specific purpose to be used. And if I can share with you, you will see it. This cup is made in China with a specific GaNs combination. We've shown this before. I'm sure many of you have seen it. If you see, it's the same composition, more or less the same thing, fired with the same, but these colors you cannot find naturally because it's the interaction of it. And these cups have been made for a specific, what we call sterilization, as we explained this before, is that you fill this cup with the water, you can go to a river, fill it up, wait a few minutes or seconds, let the water settle. The half a cup, the top water, you can drink it, is more pure than any purification system we know. These cups will be released in the hopefully in the future, is tested, is better sterilizing than the most advanced sterilizing systems created by the Americans and the Japanese in the hospital. The doctor can put this next to it, use the tools on the operating room, instead of being taken away and sterilized, brought back, drop it in 10 seconds, you pick it up. This changes the whole health organization in Africa, in the third world nations. The death rate because of infection will die. The doctor can take a cup and wash the wound with it when he's done his operation. Then you don't get infections and death after it and all the complications. This was done in one of the masters of Chinese pottery's offices. One of the top masters in his kiln. His daughter-in-law took it and made it. And it's so simple. And this is what the future is. Now, when you're in death, you see these colors you never seen. But comes from the interaction of the fields of the blood, which is not circulating, but is still magnetic. But the soul is still active. And the brain is in between, still recording. If I can bring you back by circulating your blood, you remember because the blood was there, the brain was there, and it's done. One of the easiest way, which I always said, which is never done, when you have somebody, you get the ambulance drivers coming and pumping, just connect the blood pump to the circulation of the blood and pump it. You bring the back faster than pumping and always electric shocks and the rest. If you can create that circulation, you will contain the soul. Any other question?
Just a bit of it I can ask if I can. Some people who did not have a good action, but nobody knew about it, they go there, they see these scenes, which is not like that, the beautiful things. They see things like what we know about the hell, like the misery and the very cold, very hot, people are crying, things like that.
That's the emotion of that's the interaction of the fields with what they're connected to. Rick, do you want to change the screen, please? This is what is with them, how they connect and why is the soul connecting to that position in time and space? What they had to do with it. Or why the soul has taken that position to see such a condition. Anyway, do we have another question or shall we call the day? It's nearly 12 o'clock past.
Yes, perhaps you can answer a question from someone new here in live stream called Yu, who says, I bought the educational kit recently to produce CO2 GANs. The plates are placed vertically against each other. Would it create something different if I placed it horizontally? Now I know, I know you answered this before, Mr. Keshe. Would it create something different if the plates were placed horizontally instead of vertically in the CO2 kit?
It can do, yes. Different isotopes.
Right. I think you explained that in detail a few workshops ago, as Fried mentions in that chat. There's a further question. If I try to, from Yu, if I try to produce GANs of different elements in the previously used box to produce other GANSs, will that give the new production a new field strength which could exhibit different characteristics?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Fried answered, I think yes, but could be better if answered by Mr.
Because
Keshe.
you have created a new dimension. There is something which knowledge seekers who've been there a long time doing things. You see, when you use the GANs boxes, especially if you use the same box for the production, same thing, and then you want to clean it, never cleans. The GANSs embed themselves in the structures like a nanolayer in someone, especially you see it in CH3 and CuO. You cannot clean the box from it. So if we cannot clean it, it means the residue of the fields are still there. Sometimes you don't see it, but because it was there. And mainly what is interesting, which I noticed, I discussed this, I think, a long time ago with one of the knowledge seekers. This is the wall of the container. This is the GANSs, which physically we see attach themselves to it. But what happens when you wash these cups or these machines, or when you stir it, you clean it, whatever, you'll find out sometime, and you can see it very clearly, amino acid entrapped in between. And the amino acid creates the contact between the CH bound and the CH bound of the amino acid. And you get that oily texture feeling on the surface. But it's not anymore GaNs of copper. You have amino acid GaNs of copper. So now if I produce again, let's say CH3 in this box, my CH3 carries the amino acid of the muscle tissue because it was zero was in its strength. It's still CH3, but of a different strength. This, if I make it in a plain box, virgin box with nothing in it, I'll have the characteristics. But now this is for that purpose. The energy is of a different strength, even though it still is the CH3. Different spectrum of the field strength is used. Any other question?
Well, there's a few more questions in the Q&A if you wish to continue, but
Let's see a couple more and then we see.
okay. Let's see here. Perhaps we can address the question from Liko about making the plasma mirrors. Do you add GaNs particles themselves to the nanocoating and repeat up to 30 times?
I don't know. I cannot tell.
Trade secrets
And
of...
that's what was going in my head, exactly.
Okay, let me see here. Try to get in another question that's relevant here. Dan had a question. After an accident at work, I kept my eyes bandaged for a few days, and then my eyesight and colors were different from normal. Why?
There are different reasons for it. Very much different reasons for it. The position of the eyelid or the corona can change. And that will allow you to see different colors, different dimensions. This is why we see different colors as we get older, because so at the young age, our eye stands out. As we get older, it goes more further back. So vision angle changes. So you see different lights, yeah.
Okay. Just trying to see here. There is a couple of more, but I think it pretty much answered the outstanding questions here. There's a question from Yosafa in Brazil. I'm not quite clear if it will be clear, but it says, "Hi, Mr. Keshe, thanks for bringing knowledge from the last few classes. It was and is being enlightening. About nuclear reactors, man's body creates pressure of fields and splitting of fields from the calcium to potassium and B12, which can follow to phosphorus and sulfur when needed. About the flickering of the drive gases, what is the source of the creation of the fields of these gases? Would it be hydrogen?"
What? Can you repeat?
I'm not sure what he means about the, he says about the flickering of the drive gases. I think he's talking about nuclear reactors. Flickering of the drive gases. What is the source of the creation of the fields of these gases? Would it be hydrogen? I'm not sure if that's.
I'm not sure either what do you mean.
We'd
It
have to
must
get
be a
more
Google
clarification.
translation of it.
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay. Shall we call it a day? You don't have any more.
I have one video I'd like to play, which is the introduction to Iranian plasma reactors in the spaceship star formation that you presented one time. It's about 5 or 6 minutes long. Would that be appropriate?
I don't know what it is. I
Here?
can't remember.
I'll give you a hint here and you can tell me, let's see. It's a Spaceship Institute promotional video.
Yeah, no
Where
problem.
you talk about the
Yeah.
reactors. And
No
I thought
problem.
it might be
Go
nice
ahead.
to, for the IAEA people to have a good look at these reactors that they felt so threatened about. Okay, let me just play that here. Sure it's set up.
Today is the 14th of April 2014. For the first time in public, we show the first nuclear reactor which has flown, it has lifted using gravitational magnetic field. There are two reactors. These two reactors have been tested in 2008 in Tehran, and they both lift and fly. This reactor has been captured a number of times in flight. So for the first time in public, we show the gravitational magnetic field reactors, which literally, this is the very first one, except a different base. The base was destroyed in testing, it was rebuilt. But this is the original double core half reactor used for space technology without reversal of polarity, weighs less than 14 kilogram. This one weighs less than 2 kilogram, and it has double core, free rotating internal core. This one has a reserve tank. The two have been fully tested with nuclear material before. Now there are no nuclear material. We're testing them with nano layers and composite nano layers. This has a special configuration. We cannot open internally the structure for certain reasons you might understand. But from today, the star formation for the space reactor technology is complete. And I would like to thank the Iranian government for allowing this to be shown in public for the first time. This is considered one of the edge of science technology reactors. The original one, you can see, is very dirty, it's being well used. And the whole process will be shown live from now on. What we do, we have a reactor which sits in the center. This is the one which was made for peace, World Peace Treaty, for the APO, for power generation. This reactor will take its position at 120 degrees, marked on this position. And the second one should sit at is position of 120 degrees, somewhere here. Or we put it here temporarily. And the third one should be coming in to sit somewhere here. So the three reactors will take their place, and from today you can watch it live, what is happening and how the performance will be. This is the first time that a star formation reactor has ever been done outside the territory of Iran. So we start and wish you all the best with the new technology and the new opening for mankind. Thank you.
That brought a few memories back for you, Mr. Kesh.
You see how young Armin used to be. You see his picture at the back.
Mhm.
I noticed he was here this morning. I don't know if he's still here. He's there. I think his hand is up. Would you like to let him to speak?
I think he's got talking permitted there, but I'm not sure. I don't think his microphone is
He's connected.
available or connected. I could bring him in as a panelist, but
image is narrowed
um,
on the live stream.
yeah, let me share better here. I was trying to get back to the image of Armin, but I got caught in between instead. Yeah, I think
Yes.
Armin could go ahead if he wanted to, but he's probably not available, I guess.
This other. This reactor, originally shown in public for worldwide, but initially for the first time, this reactor was shown on 3rd of December 2011 in a public meeting in the city of Ghent, Belgium. This is where we announced the week before that, the Saturday before that, we were supposed to use the flying machine, which they confiscated the nuclear material. We showed this on the 3rd of December in a presentation with 150 people in city of Ghent, near city of Ghent. And that was a time when we asked everybody to put the cameras and everything, that nobody photographed it. It was not seen in a public domain, but it was shown in a closed conference. This is where we showed it. And we said, we'll show the power of this technology very soon for what they did the Saturday before with us not trying to show the flying system. And within less than 24 hours from showing this, the American drone was captured on the 4th of December to show the power of technology. It's more or less in line with what we explained to you a couple of weeks ago in our meeting with the officials, showing what has been done and lied to the Iranian officials. We saw the departure of the Iranian officials from the meeting after negotiation and back, and we saw what happened in Erbil. We speak with the power of peace, we speak with the power of commitment to peace, and this technology is there for it to be done. And it's an amazing system. when we talk about nuclear reactor-based system, it's never been done before. Never nuclear materials were loaded. And I have a ability through whatever structure of my body. I never use these remote control fixing things. Every nuclear material in both reactors, plus about 400 sources, are hand positioned. I don't get contaminated. Contamination with radiation with my body is non-existent. And this has ability to what we call share and deliver what is set to do. I have to just change 1 second microphone. One of the system's batteries is about to fail. The system was shown for the first time in public on a video internationally, in what we call with a knowledge series, and there is a lot of things which goes on with this in the background and in demonstration of the technology. And what you see more or less, the bottom tank is a reserve tank. This carries a specific combination of what we call materials, which are built to become ready to become radioactive ignition material. This has a dome. We've shown this before. Arman is in the back. He's worked with this. He knows what it is, how it's done. And this carries inside it on about 200, 250 radiation sources. By controlling the position of the radiation sources, we can dictate what kind of plasma, which direction we want to test. When you put this in the position at a given position, and because this one primarily is not supposed to move, so we load the reactor in a specific way, in a specific direction. If you go one step further to show both reactors, please, Rick. If you can do that, that we see both reactors together. Yeah, if you stop it there. What is interesting is that if we, let me clean out the pass, if you can with that. Yeah. If we position the radioactive materials and the gas combination in a given position in the direction of this reactor, we can enforce which way to go. And if we design it in a way that is done in a specific way, arrangement, we done this test, that we decide we want this reactor to go to there and fly at this position. And this reactor, when it's ignited, goes there and it takes in that position. So by a specific way of ionization and enforcing, we can dictate the direction of the flight. And this knowledge now is used in the enhancement unit for flight. But now it's more advanced, it's a different structure of technology. And this reactor is, as we said before, what Netanyahu used to sell Iran as a nuclear weapon technology, a nuclear space technology. And now we don't even need nuclear resources. We can create cosmic radiation at will. Again, it's never taught outside. And in a way, if you go to it, it doesn't exist. But if you initiate it for the time of operation, it's created. It's very much, you have to remember, you read and you pass about being born to a father with an X-ray connection and being near X-ray machines. All that knowledge has been added up. How we can direct, we can strengthen different kind of X-ray machines to produce, to pass a tissue or a bone. That knowledge is embedded in. We don't think about it, but we use it knowingly for a specific conditions. And that field is created. You use it to go from the bone to tissue. I use it to create directional motion the way I want. So when we speak about nuclear, what we call reactors, we will speak about flight system. This is all built-in part of. It's all interacting part of. And all comes as a what I call collection of knowledges gathered over years and in doing it. And as I said, somehow, maybe I come from planet Zeus, we never know. This has been a puzzle to my professors in Queen Mary College, how I can handle bare hand nuclear material without getting contaminated or showing signs of contamination. I could do the same in Iran. They used to grow bananas. This guy handles nuclear materials as nothing. And I literally place them by hand in the exact position I need. Where in the USA you have to do remote hands and all sorts of things. And this allowed us to do huge amount of experiments over years. I have loaded and unloaded the system hundreds of times. And this is a part of the structure of developing nuclear industry in a plasma technology. It brought back a lot of memories. If you play further, you see Armen and Yukoko from Japan when she went to Fukushima to do the first trials, whereafter we got involved with TEPCO and cleaning up there Fukushima. She's there. You see, she's just in the background, pops out behind Armen. She came to Quechua Nation to gain the knowledge to go back to her nation. And she literally flew back to Fukushima and tested in government laboratories live online. She showed nuclear material can be controlled and can be reduced in strength. Any other question?
Well, that was a good bonus that you added there. Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
This is the lab space in Desenzano. And this is one of the first times we opened a lab. It's literally reactors for students to touch and come into public. Because one of our students' reactor wouldn't work. He says, I brought the reactor with me, it doesn't work, what can I do? And I had to make a decision. I said, okay, come with me, I'll show you. You can choose which one you want. I'll give you a reactor, but the reactor which works. And then the rest of the knowledge seekers came in and each one took one. This is, when you look at this, going back to the framework, you see is the initial frame structure where test started and we went to 129 Tesla combination. These reactors were used to create a field flow in a plasmatic condition. 129. If you go back a couple of steps, you see some other things in these pictures, because there's a lot of things in the background. You will see if you go step back, just go a bit, couple of steps further back. This is this framework is where we use, you've seen this before, for stopping a reactor and starting reactors. In the background, you see control panels for gases. This was built individually for each reactor, for each student. You go a little bit further back, you see it. These are all kept, all these systems, everything's still here with us. If you go, you see there, stop. You see this here. This is a control panel. You could control gases into each reactor. What combination gas, how much, whatever we could expand or extend or reduce. And then there is a you see them here. Each table has one unit. One student has one unit to control. So we could control all the reactors with the gas mixtures and everything else. And you see the power generators here, where we could control the speed of rotation and the rest. The interesting part with this lab was we used to create so much plasma at nights when we used to go, you heard this before, when they used to switch the light off, we used to watch the interaction of the fields of the plasma in the room with the fluorescent tubes in the ceiling. And we used to wait till it completes before we leave. Usually when you switch a fluorescent tube, you switch off and you go and it goes off. When you create plasma, the plasma is so much that the fields are still, the charges are still there, and you see what you call a light show. And there's a lot of things, memories with this place, and how this is the room when 129 test was done over time.
Mr. Keshe, is there any sense in returning sort of back to that technology? Is this a process that countries have to go through in order to progress to the next stage, or is it obsolete now?
For us, it's not obsolete. We learn from it. We learn hugely from it, and part of this knowledge now is embedded in the enhancement unit. It's not something we did and we went. Everything we learned over the time in development, in testing, has been added in one way or another to the next step of the what we call knowledge. We learned a lot was done. All these reactors, all these cables, pipes, controls are still with us in the lab in Austria. As they were, all the tables, everything is with us. These systems can be reset historically in 20, 30, 50 years, because everything is kept. And the tables are special tables, as you know. We said before, these are built by the Iranian scientists for Keshe Foundation. They are zero magnetic field system. You can work with them, magnets on them, nothing, they don't get touched. We create a free, what we call magnetic zone. And you can operate, you can test. Because when you have a steel bed or tables and that kind of thing, you have a lot of interaction of fields. And this is what we have avoided. This is a gift again from the Iranian government in 2006, 2007, around that time. And it's 21 of them in total, I think. They're still in the Austrian lab, they're still getting used. And the reactors, these two reactors you see in the center of the exhibition in Austria. You see here the window. There's a window here. If you can see it. This window, we could see the rotation of the internal core. To what a speed rotates, when detaches, when comes into motion, how we can do it. The base of the rotation of these reactors are very special. They are designed as a non-contact system. The central reactor is in a floating position, it's not on a motor. If you go back a bit, we can see the full Now you can move forward a little bit. Stop there. This system is free flowing at this level. At this level is free flowing. The inner reactor is not rotated by motors. It's a free flowing condition. And it dictates at one point, it disengages from physical rotation. It decides its own speed, it decides its own direction, and sometimes it comes to a halt and changes direction. And you watch all that through the window. That's how we know the exact time. This system had originally 2 reactors because we wanted, there's one here in the back if you can see that thing. We want to see what is the field, do they look the same? Do the plasmons behave the same? And this reactor is fed through a special way in 2 systems with a revolving, I think it's 3,500 revolving bar. Allows the internal helium to move separately than outside.
Did you use the scintillated helium in this unit, or was that not necessary?
You use that. You have to use it, but you have to know how to create it. You create it in a specific motion of gases. The centralization is extremely used in this kind of person we can control. The reactor in the background you see hanging under the orange one is a 2-core reactor. It's not a 2-core reactor. It's just this. We paid 32,000 euro to build that back reactor you see in there. They will call it a peace reactor. That has 3 integrated reactors. And it's a specific knowledge how to create this. Then by changing any of these 3, we can decide which way the reactor flows and flies. The shielding you control. A lot of people in the testing always looked for energy, but unknowingly, I look for the field interaction, how it does, what it does, the way it does. And you feel it sometimes. When we run this reactor in Sharif Tehran University, it was very interesting. I call it, I spoke with it about it before, we call it a tickling factor. It's when you create fields, as we talk about the soul of the man, you interestingly create a dynamic field which expands depending on how much you can expand it. And I could control the expansion, not knowingly. And those days we had no system to measure how far the field has expanded. So what I used to do, we used to have a door. If this was a lab in Tehran, the system was sitting usually here. The door was here. I used to ask the security officers, because I was always locked into, nobody could get in when I was in the lab. There was always security officers outside. I could ask them to come in, and what an excuse. When they used to come in, I was waiting to see when it's like somebody wants to tickle you, you bend. I just wanted them to bending to see how they had no idea. So it told me, okay, the field is 3 meters now. And I do change the fields and I ask them, can you come in, please? I want this. So now I see when they bend, it's 4 meters. I knew the strength of the field by interaction of the, magnetic field on the body. This is how we knew how to interact. And it took about a month and a half from flying this to be able to fly this and create motion. Because these fields are real. These fields are safe interacting plasma fields. They're not radiation fields. That is like as you go with a generator, but in a plasmatic condition.
You mentioned another way you detect the fields that I actually talked about yesterday in the plasma group, which was the radio that you keep going in the lab. And you know when the fields are working, when the radio stops.
Yeah. This
It's like
radio is
the
never here. It's
canary
never-
in the coal mine kind of thing, but an opposite.
more or less, yeah. If you look here in the base, you see these. These all have a meaning. There are control systems. We control the, what do you call it? The rotation. We measure the field interactions. Everything is measured by these, what do you call, inputs. You see here 2 input gases. This machine has 3 of them. There is one in the background somewhere, because you control the gas flow, pressure, and the composition in the outer, the center here, and this one controls the gas pressure composition into the reserve. When you run out, you fill it up. And there is no suction power. The system automatically has been built, designed in a very specific way that it pulls the, what do you call it, the gases as are needed to be used as energy or ionization. Originally, if you look at this, this is a cooling system where we had the motor at the bottom there. We could keep it cool because in vacuum we cannot transfer heat. So we developed the technology that this transfers. In one of the videos you see it. Originally, we wanted to test a specific condition for purification. And I asked for a specific material which was imported overnight by the Iranian officials from Japan. Literally, here in some of the tests you see it, there's a blackish specific steel, and it's only made in Japan. And when they brought it to Iran, it couldn't be machined. It was still in a rough state by the way they cast it the day before. And we had to take it to a special factory to clean it with the light to the machine specifically. We still have this ring in the lab. And this ring cost tens of thousands to get it here. To order it to be made, to be flown, to be ready for the test in 48 hours. Iranian did not shortfall in anything, expanding and spending to develop this technology, and the still looks. Because when the metal came, the Iranian technicians, the masters in the lead machines, in cutting them to the way we wanted, they couldn't do it. They said this metal cannot be touched. We don't have anything for it. And I was there, I remember, with a suit and everything in the factory. I said, if you step down, I'll do it for you. He said, no, you're in a suit. You don't know what you're doing. I said, my friend, I have 3 diplomas in running machines, industrial machines. Just step down for 2 minutes. And within a few minutes, I cut it. He said, you're not just a suit. You know everything. I said, no, because we know what we do. Because every time they put the lead machine, the tip melted. It's a specific material that in the space we have, we don't get it done. We could get nearest to it. And we just put it on the lead machine. It just cuts like what. He says, how do you know these things? I remember the guy was going crazy. They called the office. He said, this guy's not just a suit. He's working on the lead machine. Can we allow him? He says, you can't do it. He has to do it himself. And that ring creates a ring of Saturns. Had a specific reason for it. We could see the rings, the composition of the fields and what they hold in between them. It just brings back a lot of good memories in development of the technology. Thank you very much for the time machine. Any other
You-
questions?
Thank you for all the extra details there, Mr. Kesh. Very interesting and hopefully inspiring to some out there that might pick up on this trail and carry on with it.
Shall we call it a day?
I think so. Yes.
Amen.
Well, thank you for a very enlightening workshop here, Mr. Kesh. Very, very good. I think we have lots of people.
I hope the
Happy.
pay is good.
Yeah, I think you'll get triple pay today. It's not even a holiday.
No, no. Thank you very much. I hope we can do more. His Armin is still there. He's still sitting around. He can't speak or he's fallen asleep.
Well, I'm not able to. Let me promote him to panelist. I'm not sure if that'll make a difference and wake up his microphone or not, but
He's in
maybe.
panelist.
He's an attendee right now, actually. And he has talking permitted, though, but he doesn't have a microphone icon that I can unmute. And it's very slow to promote to panelists. Or Armin may have to update his Zoom software, perhaps. So I'm not able to promote.
I usually don't put out requests so easily, but we would like to ask the Universal Council and members of the council and Keshe Foundation community as a whole for support of one of our knowledge seekers who has been there for a long time. He's a member of the core team. He is in a way critically ill, and we would like to ask for support for him to have an easy life, and if he can be helped. He's been around the foundation as one of the main core members of the 12 members of the Keshe Foundation. And now he has met with the life which was unexpected. And we are doing our best to support him in the coming time as we understand more about his illness. But we need the help and the support of the council and the Keshe Foundation. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Kesh, once again for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, the 427th on Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Let me see, announcements. We have the testimonials meeting coming up. Let me just get the date for that again. It's Monday coming up. And I believe it's the 11th, but let me check. Yes, it would be Monday the 11th. And that starts at 8 p.m. Central European Summer Time. And then Tuesday of next week, we also have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace with the Universal Council. People are welcome to join that and bring your questions that can have solutions for problems that you might be able to bring up. Anybody with any questions left over, bring them next week and we'll try to add them in. Thanks everyone for being here today. And especially to Mr. Kesh for presenting today's workshop. And I'll go out with, see a couple of the flight enhancement units. Get that lined up here. Oops. Okay. Okay, this is the flight enhancement spaceship unit with the music version, one of my favorites. And we'll have another video to go out with. Okay, bye for now.